right. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Yay! All right, it's college, so I have to do this. No, that wasn't good enough. How's everybody doing? Yeah, all right, yay, big round of applause, yay. Well, you guys are super lucky to be here. Congratulations to all of you for making the decision to be here for this amazing, wonderful event. I just had the opportunity to meet Dr. Bailey myself for the first time in person, and it was a wonderful experience. But I feel like I've known her, more than I know like a lot of other people that I actually know because I read her amazing book. And so I would hopefully at some point you guys will have a chance to do the same thing and read her amazing book. I just wanted to introduce her with some opening remarks to let everybody know a little bit about the fascinating details of Dr. Bailey's life. And then she'll come up here and we will have a fireside chat, a cozy, fire-lit, wine-soaked, lazy and fascinating and intriguing conversation about her life, her work, and her writing. So here are my prepared remarks. The public facts about Dr. Bailey's life are astonishing. Dr. Bailey was born into poverty in St. Elizabeth Parish in Jamaica. At the age of 13, she moved with her sister to the US, where she spent most of her childhood growing up in East Hartford, Connecticut, and attended Weaver High School in Hartford, where she became a track and field athlete. She received an athletic scholarship to attend the University of Connecticut and graduated in 1999. She began her career working as a service manager at Fleet Bank in Hartford, and then made a transition into the stock market, starting off at an entry-level job at Solomon Smith & Barney, and then working her way up to become a stockbroker, serving as the only black woman working for Solomon Smith & Barney in New England, and at 22 years old, the youngest stockbroker in that huge company. In 2005, she started her own medical recruiting company and earned her MBA. 5 years later, she obtained a PhD in organizational leadership, and in 2011, she launched a new business, Bailey's Medical Equipment and Supplies, followed by a number of other entrepreneurial ventures and real estate investments that, together, have led her to become the richest Jamaican-born woman. Yeah, right. I hope I'm getting this right. I've got some of this I got off the Wikipedia, so I'm not sure. She holds stakes in the Atlanta Hawks, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Phoenix Suns. She gave the largest ever athletics donation to UConn, and she owns half an island. Half an island, right? That's true, right. This objective biography of her success story emblematizes the epitome of the American dream of rags to riches prosperity. As astonishing as the facts of her public life are, however, Dr. Bailey has an even more amazing story to tell. Under the surface of her academic and entrepreneurial achievements lies a counter-narrative, a story of abuse, sexual violence, poverty, trauma, heartache, and struggle. This is the story that she tells in a recently published autobiography, Unbroken, which in startling and intimate detail describes the emotional challenges that plagued her childhood and continued to haunt her throughout her life, even in the midst of her public success. In bravely opening up the story of her personal life, Dr. Bailey complicates the story of the American dream, replacing the public illusion of a simple upward trajectory with a more nuanced picture in which setbacks and failure punctuate, complicate, and even motivate achievement and accomplishment. While Dr. Bailey certainly could have written an airbrushed memoir of her life, as so many successful entrepreneurs have done, with a title like My Amazing Life or I Got Rich and You Can Too, her autobiography dramatizes scenes of degradation, humiliation, and suffering. It presents a heroine who is vulnerable, wounded, insecure, and often overwhelmed by her surroundings and her own feelings. Ultimately, the story of her success becomes intertwined with the story of her struggles, just as the title, Unbroken, contains brokenness, even as it defies it. To quote a passage from the end of Unbroken, Dr. Bailey writes, "To remain unbroken is like taking huge rocks formed from past failures and traumas and using them as stepping stones to rise above your circumstances. It's the feeling of being battered and bruised, but standing tall with a more resilient version of yourself. It is the triumph of the human spirit over adversity and the refusal to be broken by life's challenges." Out of many impressive achievements and positive contributions to society, one of Dr. Bailey's most impactful accomplishments may be this book itself, which provides inspiration to anyone who has suffered from racism, sexism, domestic violence, sexual abuse, bullying, poverty, trauma, and the many other toxic influences that make people question the possibility of their own happiness, their own success. We are extremely grateful to have Dr. Bailey here to talk with us about her extraordinary life, her captivating memoir, and her uplifting message of hope. Let's hear it for Dr. Bailey. Dr. Bailey, thank you so much for being here at the University of Bridgeport. We're so happy to have you here and to be able to talk to you, like I say, about your book, which was amazing to me. I read it in almost a single sitting. It was heart-stopping, and it was heartbreaking. And like I say, to me, as an English teacher, it is one of your most profound accomplishments as a human being. And so I really thank you for telling your story. I guess the first question is just, why did you want to write this book? I mean, you have so much, so many achievements already under your belt. You obviously don't need the money. What is it that inspired you to tell this amazing story?
Before I answer the question, I would like to say thank you so much for being here. I am honored to be in your presence and looking at these beautiful young people whom are blooming with success. I am encouraged. I'm encouraged and excited to see where you will be next. So the reason why I wrote Unbroken, I wanted to touch the lives of men and women across the globe, especially young brown and black people. I wanted to show them that no matter what your challenges are, you can overcome. As long as you persevere, you keep your blinders on, and you continue to progress towards your goals. You cannot accomplish a goal unless you have made the goal.
That's amazing. Yeah, thank you for that. And the book definitely does show how you managed to overcome enormous challenges, work toward a goal, outline your dreams in very specific detail, and then work tirelessly to make them happen. That leads nicely into my next question, which is a little more specific about the way the book is written. Beginning with the very first chapter, Unbroken depicts numerous instances of domestic violence, rape, and abuse. For a book with such an uplifting message, the narrative never flinches from representing some of the most horrific and traumatizing experiences that a person can undergo. Why was it important for you to include these scenes in the book and to talk about these negative experiences so openly?
Well, I'm naturally very open. So if you ask me anything, I will tell you. And also, my mom didn't tell me you're not supposed to air your dirty laundry. She forgot that message. I wanted to make sure that every single thing that I share you can use to overcome whatever challenges that you're facing. I wanted sometimes, when you know that you're not the only one, it's so much easier to continue moving forward. And looking at my life, it can be painted as this perfect rags to riches story with no challenges, like you're jumping from step 1 to step 100. It's not possible. There's always obstacles in each step. There's always things that must be overcome. There's always fights that you must ignore. There's always fights that you must tackle head forward. And so my life is exactly that. And because of that, I want to make sure that every person who reads this book, because the reason why I wrote it is to help others. My job and my responsibility and my God-given purpose is to help each person who engages with me. So right in the book, I want to make sure that I include every single detail. There's nothing left out. So now I have no secrets. You have all of them.
Well, that's especially if you read the book. Especially if you read the book.
If you read the book, that is.
I'm reminded and thinking of stories of, challenges that have inspired your success. I'm reminded of a story you told at our commencement over the summer, where you talked about how you, for one reason or another, wound up in a wheelchair, and you were at an airport waiting to be assisted, and no one came to assist you, and you were sitting there in a wheelchair, unable to, express yourself or to to help yourself. And this experience turned out to be very pivotal in your own development of your business and your success. I wonder if you could, for those of us who weren't at graduation this summer, tell that story again and tell us a little bit about how responding to that challenge of being specifically like incapacitated in a wheelchair in an airport drove you to begin this business.
So in 2008, I was in a coma for 8 days. I was in California at the time. And when I got out the coma, I wanted to come back to Florida because that's where my family were. I was alone. My larynx was clipped, so I was not able to speak. My legs did not work, so I was wheelchair bound. The flight attendant escorted me off the aircraft and placed me in the corner. And for 2.5 hours, I sat there and I cried. I tried to signal every person who passed me, but no one saw me. 2.5 hours later, a young girl came over and she came close enough for me to whisper and ask for her help, and she assisted me to get to my next destination. During that time, I realized that the disabled was invisible to the world. And because of that, I started my second company, Bailey's Medical Equipment and Supplies, because I never wanted anyone else to feel the way that I did.
That's an amazing story. I mean, to me, it epitomizes so much about your memoir, which is so frequently about the way that when you're faced with these kinds of challenges and these kind of like setbacks and these moments in life where you feel hopeless and lost, that those sometimes wind up being the very moments that inspire you to strive to succeed. And in a way, reading your memoir, I kept feeling like if you had been born with a silver spoon in your mouth, if you hadn't faced these various challenges and setbacks, that you might not have been able, your life would be very different. But the way that you managed to take these distressing circumstances and kind of spin them and develop them in positive directions that help you achieve your goals. What is the mindset that allows somebody to achieve that kind of alchemy, to be able to turn a really unfortunate situation into something positive?
So this is the thing about myself. I see the positive in every person that I engage with. I see the positive in every single situation, regardless of how bad it may look. Every single thing, there's always a positive, and as long as you latch onto the positive and develop on the negative side, you will continue to strive and you will continue to do great. I also have another thing that I do. So if someone hurt me, regardless of who it is, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, spouse, whomever, family member, you get 48 hours. I cry for 24, I sulk for 24, and after that, I say to myself, I'm going to let you watch me win.
That's great. Watch me win. That's great.
Watch me win.
Beautiful. This kind of leads into my next question. Here at the University of Bridgeport, we pride ourselves as an institution that offers opportunities for students who have immigrated to the US from other countries, for first-generation students, students who speak a first language other than English, students whose high school education may not have fully prepared them for the rigors of college-level work. Many of these challenges parallel your own experiences as a freshman at UConn. What advice do you have for students who are facing these kinds of challenges? How would you describe the mindset that has empowered you to succeed in spite of these kinds of challenges?
So I am you, and you, I am. I remember my freshman year in college, I thought I studied so hard, and I got to the exam, for sure I'm getting an A. I ended up getting a D-, and I was so broken over that D, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not college material. And until I heard of someone else says they got the same bad grade, and they also felt that they were not college material, and at that point, for some reason, it gave me hope that everybody else is like me. I am the same, just like you are. Those challenges, you have to find the good in those challenges, and you have to allow it to fuel you. Every single that I do, I give it 110%. Every single thing I do is 110%. I gun it. I ran track. So if you know how track is, you get in the blocks and you shoot out the reason why you're in the blocks. So everything that I do, I gun it, and I persevere. Whatever it is, anything that's good. In high school, I used to tell myself, whatever is worth having is worth working for. So whatever it is that you're working for, and when you get to that place where you're like, I just cannot do this anymore, take a step back, take a breather, start strategizing what is it that you need to change and how you need to implement to move beyond that. Because once you move beyond that first hurdle, the next hurdle become a little easier to overcome. And then the next hurdle becomes easier to overcome. So as long as you continue to press forward, you will be successful. And you have to keep your blinders on. And I've repeated this about 1,000 times. None of you may not have heard it. If I am in an industry, medical equipment and supplies, I started Bailey's Pharmacy because Bailey's Pharmacy feeds the medical equipment and medical equipment feeds the pharmacy. Then I added scrubs because the providers who refers for medical equipment and for pharmacy, they're the ones who buy scrubs. So now they're coming in, they're experiencing our amazing service. So I'm in the same lane. Then I added the real estate because you need a building in order to have a business. I stay in my lane. So if someone comes to me with something I absolutely know nothing about, I don't invest in it. And I do not zigzag. When you zigzag, it takes you so much harder to get to your destination than if you stayed forward. So one of the things that I do is I always have my blinders on. I'm not distracted by someone else's toxic energy. I'm not distracted by someone else's desires. I keep my goals and I will continue to strive towards those goals. And as long as you do that, you will be successful at whatever it is that you're doing.
That's so great. What inspiring words. And that actually leads into the next question that I have, which is also about the University of Bridgeport. The University of Bridgeport features a robust athletics department, including rapidly growing men's and women's programs in cross-country and indoor and outdoor track and field. In your book, running is more than a sport. It becomes a metaphor for the development of your individuality and a strategy for working through trauma. What was it about running that made such a huge impact on your life? And what advice do you have for student athletes struggling to keep up with crowded and stressful schedules?
You know, as a student athlete, you have two jobs, the school job. I always used to say, what do people do when if they don't have a sport? That's all you do is school? And for me, it was just like, that's not enough. When you practice having a lot on your plate, it's not hard anymore. So after everything you practice what you want to become. So I've always had a lot on my plate. School, track. I was, at one point, my last semester, because I was determined not to be at University of Connecticut longer than 4 years, not because it wasn't a great school, but because they were paying for my degree and I refused to pay any more than beyond 4 years. So I was taking 20 credits per semester, and I was running and school, and I was also working 20 hours a week. That's where the fleet bank part of it came in. So whatever it is that you're doing, do it quickly. My sisters say you do everything fast. Everything that I do it quickly. I do it fast. I start now. If I have a desire for a business, it is instant. Yesterday I left a meeting, and it was an amazing meeting. And they were talking about the expansions and so forth in my company. And I left the meeting, I called the realtor, I said, find me a building across the street from Yale. Every single thing I do, if I have an amazing idea, I start now. Yes, there are preparations, research that you must do, but what happens, you don't really know what the obstacles are until you're doing it. So you can research and procrastinate and research, and it will yield you not the same results as it is if you start, because once you start and you're in the process of doing whatever it is that you want to do, you'll figure out what the nuances that you need to change and adjust. But do it quickly, fast. I do everything fast. And track, obviously with track, you have to be fast. If I lost a race, which I rarely did, but times that I did lose a race, if I PR, I'm celebrating that success. I am celebrating, I didn't lose because I won because I had a personal best record for that race. And with track, it became a metaphor for my life. Everything I do, I must finish. Because you can't start a race and don't finish it, just like your business. When you leave here and become the amazing entrepreneurs, and you are the person on this stage inspiring and engaging with all the rest of the world, you will realize at that point is that finishing is essential to your development. You start something, finish it. If you start a class, finish it. If you start a program, finish it. Finish it, but you must put your maximum effort into doing everything it is to develop yourself, because if you don't, nobody else can. Because your excellence lies within you. It's not with your mom or your professors or your friends. Your excellence lies within you. And if you have friends who are distracting you from that excellence and distracting you from that tunnel vision, you have to exit those friendships because your values aren't aligned with where you are.
Well, that really explains how you managed to achieve so much over your life, as such a young person and managing to do so much. You have a goal, you race toward it. You don't think about anything else. You don't let anything slow you down. You just make it happen. That's so inspiring, and it's such a wonderful message for everyone. Although, sometimes not as, directly as, you might like. In chapter 6, you write about something that you say you never admitted to anyone because I was ashamed of it. And after all the extremely personal subjects that you discuss in your book, it comes as a surprise to discover that this shameful secret was your struggle to achieve the required minimum score on the SAT. Of all the experiences that you write about, why was it this particular challenge that caused you to feel so ashamed?
So the writer of my book is C.K. Milford, and he's one of my very, very close friends. As he captures my story, I say to him, I'm like, I have a secret. And he says, your secrets are never secrets. So he said, okay, tell me. I'm like, I don't know if I want to tell you. I don't know if I want to put this in the book. So I tell him, when I left Weaver High, I was struggling to get the 800 score on the SATs. I come in within 20 points, but I could not make the SAT score to be able to qualify for the scholarship that University of Connecticut in order to perform my freshman year. And he said, that's not a secret. Many people struggle with standardized tests. But for me, it was, I could not accomplish that. All the other struggles that you find, most of all the other struggles that you find in the book, other people did things to me. So it wasn't this external, you doing something to me, you hurt me. So I can share about my pain that I had to endure, but this particular thing with my SATs is I could not do it. And so that for me, that was why it was, from what I've learned, not a secret, but my secret.
And so how did you handle that challenge, or what did you do to address this, the challenge of getting the minimum score on the SAT? How did you wind up rising to the occasion?
I didn't, because I couldn't pass it. And so one of the reasons why I went back and did a donation to my alma mater is because they gave me my first chance. When I did not qualify, they made exceptions so that I was able to be there at the university and continue to perform on the track the way that I wanted to do. But even though they gave me my first chance of success, and because they gave me my first chance of success, I wanted to make sure that the university felt the love for my success.
Well, that's awesome. And that actually, is a nice segue into the next thing I wanted to ask about, which is specifically about education and about supportive people in your life who help you work through hard times by, giving you helpful support. Your book contains descriptions of two pairs of teachers, Miss Jenkins and Miss Keaton. I don't know if these names are probably familiar to you. And two pairs of coaches, Coach Rasenberry and Coach Butterfield. In both cases, mentors who inspired and motivated you, like Miss Keaton and Coach Butterfield, are contrasted with authority figures who use their power to belittle and objectify you, like Miss Jenkins and Coach Rasenberry. I don't know if that's his real name. That's a great, okay. How would you describe the role that teachers have played in helping you to achieve your success? And what lessons have you learned about how to be a positive role model and a mentor to others?
When I was in 8th grade, one of the stories that's in the book, I had just came from Jamaica, I transitioned, and I was the only black kid in the school, all Spanish kids. And the teacher, my English teacher, we changed her name because my job is not to blast anyone. She would gather with the children to torment me, spray me with sprays because they said I farted, and I would just sit there and I used to cry. And she would always call on me to read because my accent was different from all the other kids, so they laugh. In watching and experiencing those painful things, one of the reasons why, because my heart is loving. And I believe that with children and young people, my responsibility is to inject so much love into them and so much positive energy into them so that they can feel good, they could be empowered, they can feel that they can literally fly. I've had other experiences. So remember I told you I always see the positive regardless of what the circumstances are. Coach Butterfield decided to put me in with the national champion in 800, my first day of joining the track team. Never ran a single day before that outside of just casual running in the community in Jamaica. And because of his foresight into seeing who I was as an athlete, I was able to develop and become national champion and junior Olympics and junior nationals and all those things. Now I had another coach who had none of those characteristics, so I did exactly what I do with people who are around me who don't have the characteristics that I like to be a part of. So I avoided him. Anything that is not according to what I need and want, I exit from that situation. So in finding those positive people, I latch onto them. The people who are not as positive and the people who are not aligned with my thoughts and my direction in which I want to go, I exit. And I do the same exact thing now in my life that I did back in high school and college.
Thank you very much. Throughout your book, you describe your uncanny skill in being able to learn from experience, to make perceptive business decisions, and to think clearly about what you want out of your life and how to achieve it. But your book also describes a number of romantic relationships that repeat a familiar pattern of toxicity. How did you finally manage to break that toxic cycle? And what advice do you have for young people, especially young women, attempting to navigate their own personal relationships?
As a traumatized person, in which I describe myself as a traumatized person, what happened, the trauma makes the decisions for you. So you think that you're the one who's making the decision to date someone but it's not. And what happened after my ex-husband, who wasn't a very kind man, I said, I have to do something about this. I was in talk therapy for 10 years, and I was figuring out my boundaries. I was trying to navigate how to fix myself because I knew what my traumas were. And until my ex-husband, and that's one of the reasons why the thank you section, I actually say thank you for pushing me to the point where I needed to get help. And I decided to do EMDR therapy, which is a non-talk therapy, it's a trauma therapy, and what it does is melts those traumas so that you're able to truly make the decisions for yourself. Because what happened as a traumatized person, all you do and all you want is to be loved. So the first person that says, I love you, and some men will tell you, young ladies, they will tell you, I love you in the first week or 2 weeks. Normal people do not date that way. And I did not know that because that's all I wanted to hear was, I love you. And I didn't see the manipulation because I wanted love so bad, so I excused every single thing. And when they say love is blind, it truly is. So when I decided to go through the EMDR therapy, at this point now, I was able to date normally. The butterflies and the scary feeling of falling in love with someone, started to be present. I'd never felt that before, which is the craziest thing because when you read my book, you'll realize, how did you not realize that? But there's no way possible for me to have realized that because my brain wasn't allowing me to choose properly. And because my brain wasn't allowing me to function and choose properly, I kept on making the same mistake over and over and over again.
I mean, to me, from my impression of your book, that's one of the most powerful themes, the way that, your experiences of the past wind up, obviously you're such a brilliant person and such an accomplished person, and you are so good at being able to figure out what to do. But then there's this, these experiences in your past that continually reach into your present and kind of pull you back. And it's really nice to know that in the final chapter, you do figure out some strategies for getting past that and for changing your life around, something that a lot of people never manage to accomplish.
My current partner, the one whom I love, he said to me as he read the book, he said, I was like, when is she going to figure this out? Haven't you not had enough punishment? But it's literally impossible. So if you're one of those people that's listening right now and you have had some major traumas, I think every person in life has some kind of trauma. If you have had some major traumas in your life, I do highly recommend you do an EMDR so that you can actually live a really fulfilled life. I am at the point now that I am at the happiest point I've ever been in my life. I never understood how other people's life were smooth and everything was okay. I used to pray for 1 week of quiet time. God, let me have 1 week of smooth time. And what I realize now, the reason why I wasn't having that 1 week or life, in my case now, is lifetime of peace and happiness, is because whatever it is that your heart is full of unforgiveness, trauma, all negative things, there's no room for peace and happiness. And as I released that, as I was able to release that through the EMDR therapy, I'm able to talk openly about all of my traumas, and it doesn't affect me anymore. I realized that was replaced with peace and happiness and the continuation of love that I had yearned for so long. I get that. And now I'm at the happiest place I've ever been in my life.
Wow, that's wonderful. Let's have a round of applause for that. That's great. Congratulations. That's so, what a wonderful, I mean, again, one of the best things about your book is it has a happy ending, which is very nice. So I have an English teacher-y question, because I'm an English teacher. Right? You mentioned that writing was something you struggled with as a college student at UConn, but on page 157 of your book, you include a page of the journal that helps you think through questions related to starting your own business. I don't know if you remember, this is a page in your book where you actually have a copy of a page from your personal journal where you were writing out your goals and your ideals about what you wanted out of your business. So my English teacher-y question is, and also now you've written this book, obviously, in addition to keeping those journals as a young person. So how has writing, would you say, shaped your career and your sense of self? And then again, how has writing this book itself, if at all, shaped your own sense of who you are?
So to an English teacher, writing was actually my escape from my abuse as a child. So I started writing poetry because I wanted to express myself, and that's the only way that I had to express myself. So I started writing poetry throughout my teenage years into college. I ended up stopping writing because of a traumatic experience. I don't think this is in the book. I don't remember if it is. But my first daughter dad, when I was in the hospital giving birth to her, he went and he destroyed all of my poems. So I stopped writing from that moment, and I only started writing about a year ago when I met my new love, and he inspires me now to write. So I start writing. So to an English teacher, writing has always been a comfort and more of my therapy. That was my therapy.
And what about how this book itself? I wonder if you could think about, was there a moment when you said to yourself, I want to tell my story. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to try to put a book together that tells the story of my life. What was the thought process behind the evolution of Unbroken?
So I honestly did not realize that so many people go through so much hell like I have. And now that the book has been released, before I decided to write the book, I said, I've gone through so much adversity. So I figured I'd put that in there because I want people not just to see the glory, but I want you to see the struggles as well. But I didn't realize that it would impact so many people's lives. The stories I hear from men that tells me that this book has made them better men. The stories I hear from young women and women across the globe that tells me my story is exactly like yours. I felt like I was sitting next to you. I felt like you were me. I'm so happy that I did decide to disclose all the things that I did in the book, because every person whom I've ever read it has told me how much has either inspired them, it has either gave them hope, he's given them the ability to overcome challenges. I've had people whom have told me from reading the book and reading my life story that they wanted to die, and because they read the book, they decided that they wanted to continue to push forward and they want to continue to live. I've had so many people, every person I think that knows me personally, or sometimes they don't know me personally, they'll send messages on social media that the book has touched them in different ways and has given them hope. I've had one young lady who said, I'm reading the book, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go buy a building. I don't know what I'm gonna do with a building, but I'm just gonna buy one. So it will give you the opportunity to see, if you are one of those people who have gone through hell and back, that you're not alone. And whatever it is that you want to do in your life, you can accomplish it, but you just have to keep your blinders on.
That's awesome, thank you. I've got one more question, one more thing that I wanted to ask you about, and then I thought maybe we'll open it up to questions from the audience. So if any of you have a question for Dr. Bailey, try to compose it in your mind right now, and I can run over here over to you with the microphone so you can ask it. So, but let me ask you one more thing. When I was speaking to Anna yesterday, she told me this story that is not in your book, something that I thought was very interesting, especially, and I thought that it might be interesting for these young people here who are kind of at a stage in their life where they're trying to figure out what they want to do, and how they should do it, and how they should organize their time, and how to achieve their dreams and all that kind of stuff. Anna told me that you went through a period in your life as a young person where you committed yourself to spending every hour of every day, I'm not sure if I'm going to say this correctly, but reading self-help books, watching inspirational videos, doing other, teaching yourself empowerment techniques and positive reinforcement techniques, and making this very committed effort to molding yourself into this vision of who you wanted to be. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that curriculum or that program or that discipline that you put yourself to, and maybe give some of us some advice about how we can do something similar in our own lives.
So I did. So my undergraduate degree was concentration in early childhood education. I wanted to be a teacher. My mom says, you're not patient enough, go find something else to do. So I said, okay, I like numbers. And because I was working at banks, I liked finance. And when I graduated at 20 from the University of Connecticut, I did not know the field. I didn't know the investment field. So what I did was every single day, every single ounce of the day, I was either listening to something motivating, I'm listening to the stock market, I'm listening to Zig Ziglar, was one of my favorite. You are amazing, telling yourself various affirmations. So I did that for 5 years straight. And that was pretty much every free moment that I had, I was either learning something new or I'm listening to something motivating, because what you listen to and what you do, it will literally directly impact you. And I do the same thing today. I don't listen to a whole bunch of motivational tapes like I used to, but I do it in a different form. I wake up every morning. I'm going to tell this story every time I do. People are like, ooh. But I wake up every morning. I pray. I have a routine. There's every single morning. I wake up. I read my Bible verse. Do a devotion. I check my money coming in. And I check my money that I have. And then I go pee. If I have to pee really bad before, I'm not doing it, because this is my routine. I have a specific routine that I do every single day, and it's continued to sustain me in the direction in which that I want to be in. So whatever it is that you're doing, one of the worst things that you can possibly do is half-ass something that you're doing. Because one, you're not going to know if you're good at it if you half-ass it. If you don't give it your maximum effort, you will never know if this is something that you truly love or you don't really like. When as an employee, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to stay late and come in early. I figured I had projects, I have to finish it, and I'm a finisher. So I was there early, I was there late, and I'm practicing these skills of excellence. And as long as you practice these skills of excellence, even if you encounter someone who is sexist or racist or a bigot or whomever they are, if you can continue progressing with your excellence to the point where it cannot be denied, and you will encounter people. You will encounter people who are naysayers or who don't believe in what you want or your direction in which you want to progress in. But if you continue with your excellence and you do it at your maximum effort, others will recognize it, and you will have the promotions and you will develop the business that you want. Because if you're a half-assed employee and you leave to do your business, you're not going to succeed, because you have not practiced these skills of excellence, and you have not practiced these skills of doing a lot of things all at the same time. So if you decide you want to be an entrepreneur, make sure that every single thing, and that's not just your professional life, your personal as well, be moral in everything that you do. Do not let money be your driver, because if money become your driver, you start doing immoral things. You start making disgusting ethical decisions. You have to continue to make sure that you're honest in everything that you do. In the first place, it starts with this money. Am I borrowing, to me, as much money as I have? If you say to me, let me borrow $5, I expect you to pay me back $5. So be the honorable person that if you decide you're going to borrow money from your parents or whomever, practice the skills of making sure that you're honorable in every single thing that you do. Because you can work really, really hard. You can work really hard. It takes you 50% of the way. But your morals and your ethics will take you the remainder of the way.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody want to throw out a question here for Dr. Bailey? I'll come over. Oh, thanks, Elena. Here, I'll do it. I can do it. Make me feel more like Oprah this way.
Hello. I have a question. What are your self-coping strategies you use whenever you are feeling triggered due to your trauma?
Repeat that, please. I didn't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. What are your self-coping strategies you use whenever you are feeling triggered due to your trauma?
After doing the EMDR therapy, I'm not triggered anymore. Oh, wow. And every time I talk about the stories and I share them, I become less prior to doing the EMDR therapy. So if you are someone who have traumas and you have not done an EMDR therapy to melt those ice cubes, those traumas in your brain, every time I talked about it, I released it, and I became less and less and less and less triggered. Don't hold things in. You do not need to be, I say, feel the pain, but don't live in the pain. When you hold it in, you are living in that pain, and it will forever haunt you. Release it. If you did not do that to yourself, or even if you did it to yourself, release it. Tell your friends, tell your family, because what happened is that when people understand who you are, it's a lot easier to be able to say, well, you know what? Sarah is going through a difficult time right now because I know X, Y, Z, but it is very difficult for me to give you an excuse for whatever things are happening, and trauma causes a lot of very negative things and behaviors and facial expressions and different things. If someone your friends and your family know what your challenges have been, they will be able to support you. They will be able to help you, because remember, your sister sitting next to you or your brother sitting next to you may be going through the same exact thing, and you guys can actually comfort and support each other. But if you don't share, you can. And I know that sharing, especially the first time, is a really, really difficult thing. And young ladies, if you're dating someone and you tell him what your traumas are, and he uses those traumas, he or she or whomever you date, uses those traumas he uses the traumas or she uses the traumas to basically to hurt you or throw it back in your face, leave that person that same moment. Because it will never get better unless that person actually fixes themselves. And you can't fix them. They have to fix themselves.
Hello, my name is Vivian. You talked about a lot of different things that you did, that you do, but what would you say is your true purpose, or if you have one, and how did you find it?
Thank you for asking that question, because I usually lead with my true purpose. My true purpose is to help others. My calling is to inject so much love into every person who engages with me that they feel the love from me so that they can actually have some to give it out as well. So my true purpose is to help others. And that's the main reason why I wrote the book, Unbroken.
Hello, my name is Roman DeRosa. I just had a question about how you feel towards mental health in the Black community, because you talk about therapy, but it's not really like something that's known to be occurring in the Black community.
I believe that, listen, if I can gift every person who has gone through trauma, EMDR therapy, or some level of therapy, I say EMDR because it works for me. Other therapy obviously works for other people as well. I would gift it to every single person, because when you are able to handle yourself internally, you are so much better to every person that's around you. You're better to your family, you're better to your children, you're better to yourself, you're happier. You feel joy that you never imagined that you can feel. Like the joy that I feel now, I literally never thought that I can ever be this happy. The only other time I've been this happy is when I was in a coma and I knew I was dead. I knew that in that coma, I knew I was not alive. I was a little girl, I'm looking out in this beautiful flowers, and it was so peaceful, and it was just like, ah. I thought that you have to die in order to feel that. So when I came out the coma, I was like, I want to go back. And this past year and a half has been the happiest. This only time I've ever felt that way. And it was because I dealt with the trauma. It was because I was able to release all those traumas, those toxins out of my body. So Black and brown people, if you have trauma, invest in yourself. And invest in yourself first with your mental health, because it's going to sustain and help you to accomplish everything else that you want to accomplish.
Hi, my name is Fatima. So my question for you, Dr. Bailey, is when you say you share your personal stuff, like, you know, what you're going through in life with your family, so how does that impact when you have a negative, how do I say that? Yeah, a negative feedback from a family member, or, you know, when you live in an environment with toxic family. So how do you deal with that, and what is your plan, and what is your next step on sharing with more and get a positive feedback?
You know, sometimes, you know, with friends, you get to choose those family members. So for me, my friends are family. And sometimes you can't really choose the person who birthed you, or the person who gave the donation to birth you. Or you can't choose who your sisters or brothers are, because they come with you. So that's the point, that you have to put your blinders on. So you invest in your friends because you get to choose those people and you get to release them. And sometimes it's a matter of not talking to them. Even their family members, I'm not talking to a family member who I know is toxic. I'm not engaging with you because everything that I say to you, something negative come back from you, and I can't deal with that because that doesn't feel good for me, and it's not good for my mental space. And if you know that person is negative, don't share your trials with them. Share it with the people who you know is going to encourage you, who is going to comfort you in those moments, who's going to encourage you to be better than you were before. Take critique. Take critique from the people whom you love and implement those critiques. Until today, I still allow my staff to critique me and my friends, because your job as my friend and you around me in my circle is to tell me that I'm doing something wrong. Hold me accountable for what it is that I say and hold me accountable for whatever it is that I do. And sometimes we don't know we're doing something wrong. We might be slouching, right? In class, you're sitting there slouching. You don't know that's not the etiquette or the proper way to be able to receive the information that you have. So if someone say to you, sit up, receive that as a positive because it is helping you to become a better person.
Hello, my name's Abigail, and the question that I had was, what do you suggest to people who are unable to receive therapies due to financial issues and are also unable to have someone that they can talk to, or feel like they don't have someone they can talk to about whatever issues they may be going through?
I believe there are some programs allotted for people who have various mental health issues. On the financial side, that's difficult for me to answer because I don't have financial restraints. For me, my first set of money goes to investing in myself. Whatever job I'm doing, and invest in myself in several ways. One, it would be savings. So I say if you make $1,000, let's not even use $1,000. Let's say you make $100. $20 of that $100 must be saved somewhere. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter the fact that you're in school or whoever. Somehow there's money that comes in your hand, and you have to save a portion of that, and you figure out the rest after that. I've been doing that since I was in high school. I used to get $10 a week for lunch, and I saved $6 every single week. So I know that I know that some people have financial restraints that they don't have any resources at all, any money that's coming in their hand, but most people have at least a little bit. And if you have a little bit, you invest in yourself. So that saving could be towards knowing that, especially if you've gone through significant trauma, it could be towards that mental health therapy that you need.
Hello, Dr. Bailey. My name is Lena. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared today and for having the courage to write a very honest book. I've been looking up on it and reading on it a little bit. My question to you is, as a strong woman, right, and as a woman who has lived through so much and overcome so many hurdles, how do you balance when, let's say, you're in a relationship, the position of dominance and submittance, as you are a religious person from what I see? So that is something that comes up a lot in being able to balance that when you're in a relationship.
What I'm learning, that if the person truly cares for you and you're equally yoked, you don't have to balance it. There's no balance that's necessary because they're going to support you and elevate you and encourage everything that you do. When you win, and they are happy when you win, just like how you're happy when they win. When the relationship is lopsided, let's say, for example, you are the breadwinner as a female in the relationship, sometimes what happened with men, in my experience, and does not happen with everyone, so I'm using my experiences to say this, they want to pull you down to their level. So that's the reason why I used to be one of those people that says, oh, everyone's the same, it's okay, I'm just trying to help him, I'm gonna help him build so if he becomes stronger and he become more successful, then he will love me the way that I want to be loved. That doesn't happen. The stronger he becomes, the more he stomps you down. At least that's my experience. So I believe that you should be equally yoked with someone. You're in college, you're college graduates, when soon to be. Find another college graduate that's just like yourself. There's plenty of people to date on your level. You don't have to date down. Now, morally, spiritually, financially, are in yoke with yourself. As long as the person loves you and truly loves you, you won't even have to consider that. Like my partner, I'm finally dating a partner who is equally yoked, so that's why I'm able to talk on both ends of the spectrum. I used to see men in relationships, and they're like, well, you're going to know if this person loves you. You're going to know, and I used to excuse the things the behaviors that my partner was doing to myself, because I'm like, not everybody's like that. Yeah, he's just talking. But it's not just a talk. When you are being loved and cared for by someone, you know it. And there's no need for you to even think that, well, I'm the submissive one. I am this one. I am naturally a submissive person in a relationship. And in this relationship that I am in, I can be strong. I can be exactly who I am. Whenever I feel like being, I have my meltdowns and I say I have my woes. I say, okay, now you're understanding my crazy. Now you're understanding my temperament. And he loves me through every single moment of it.
That's wonderful. Thank you. What a wonderful place to end. Thank you so much, Dr. Bailey. Let's have a big round of applause for Dr. Trisha Bailey. Here's Dean Naraki with a special message.
Really just some follow-up thank yous. I would, again, extend my thanks to Dr. Bailey. Another round of applause seems appropriate, so please. Yes, I'm sorry. My name is Amy Naraki. I'm the Dean of College of Science and Society. So I'd like to say some thank yous to Randy Laced for being a great interviewer and for helping to coordinate this event on behalf of Necessary Voices, which is a lecture series that we've sponsored in the English department for many, many years. And I want you to just think about that term, necessary voices. Dr. Trisha Bailey is a necessary voice. You have necessary voices. Please don't be shy about sharing them. I'd also like to remind you, or just let you know and think about it, if you are experiencing trauma or want to talk to somebody, please reach out to somebody. The dean's office in all the colleges, student affairs, your instructors, your friends. We have services to help you, and that's our goal here. I would like to thank, on that note, the instructors for FYS and for English 101 and 100 for bringing your students. Please reach out to your instructors if you need anything related to follow-ups. We were tracking attendance, but we're happy that you're here. I would like to say, if I didn't already, Elizabeth Haas, and for coordinating the learning communities. And I would like to thank Russell Fisher for helping us get this recorded and for helping to do the audio visual. Trina Henderson, who helped put this event together, is also someone I'd like to give a shout out to. So I would like to invite Joe Young to just say a final thank you. Joe is the vice chair of the University of Bridgeport's Board of Trustees, and he would like to say a few words. And thank you so much for coming. And I'll leave it at that.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let's hear it more because you're in the room where it happens. All right. Now, again, Trisha's a friend, and I'm one of her biggest fans. You know, Trisha didn't talk about her own plane and all the things she does. She spoke about half of it. But I've observed Trisha, and what I've learned is if you run after success, success runs away. But if you run after excellence, success comes to you. And that's what I learned from her. Let's give her another big round of applause. Again, I am the vice chair of the Board of Trustees, and I am so excited to see this room filled up. And the gems she gave you are so important. And I really want you to learn from that, and it's all about relationships. When I first heard about Trisha from Rohan, a mutual friend, I said, we got to bring her to be a speaker for UB's graduation, which you did, and it was phenomenal. And then she's coming back. But let's not get it twisted. This woman could be anywhere in the world, but she decided to be here. So let's give her another round of applause. And that's why it happens. And more importantly, as a board of trustees, to see you involved and coming out like this means so much. Again, my name is Joe Young. You have any problems, any positive things, come find me, Google me, or whatever, because the trustees, we want to know what's going on with the students, and if you like things, if you don't like things, all right? But what I want to do before I close out is give some of the most important people in the room a round of applause and ask you, give yourselves a round of applause. And this was just amazing. This is the center of the universe right here, UB. All right, thank you guys, have a good one.
I pray blessings upon your lives. Go out, be successful, keep your blinders on, love and care for every person who engages with you.